Hey, Shelley, what do you think gold star means?
Gold star. I would probably say it probably means that you're good in bed. That's my guess. Gold star. You get a gold star. You do everything right. Check all the boxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like an awesome guess. We're about to find out what it means in a minute. Whether you're listening for the first time or already a part of our community, I'm your host, JJ, and this is another episode of Unstrapped The Podcast. Today's episode features a guest of the podcast. Our word of the day is gold star. Our topic of the day is connecting us to religion or spirituality. So unstrap, sit back, and relax. Let's get into it. A little bit more about our guest today. Shelley was referred to our show by her partner, who listens to my favorite podcast called The Read. That podcast had a Facebook group that connected her to my fiance, and well, the rest is history. We are so glad to have her here today and to know The Read is the show that keeps on giving in my life. So, Shelley, let's tell the audience a little bit more about yourself. First, what do you identify as?
I identify as queer, a queer woman. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Masculine or something. Queer woman. Yeah.
okay. And what are your preferred pronouns?
Preferred pronouns would be she and all of the above. I used to say she, her, hers, but yeah, anything respectful. So she and all of the above.
Okay, I love that for you. I love that for you. Checking all the boxes. I
Yeah.
know a little bit about you from our conversation before the recording, but can you tell the audience a little about any business ventures you have and where people can follow you?
Most definitely, most definitely. I am the service director for a Black LGBTQIA nonprofit organization called The Normal Anomaly. You can find us at all social handles as The Normal Anomaly. Also, you can find me at Shells827 on Instagram or Rochelle Y. Washington on Facebook. Also, be on the lookout for my particular nonprofit, Be Out Ministries.
All right, all right, all right. Don't forget to check them out. And last question, but most important question. Are you team strapped or unstrapped?
Oh, most definitely Team Strap. Gotta take it
Let's
wherever
go.
we go.
Let's go. Let's go. Y'all heard it on my podcast, y'all.
That's right. That's
Um, thank you so much. Let's keep on going with this introduction. If this is your first time tuning into the podcast, our introduction includes what is the word of the day. And the idea here is I don't know about anyone else listening, but when I came out the closet, I didn't know all of the terminology that exists today. And so this is a fun way to get to know a little about us and what we know about different lesbian related or masculine related terminology. So the word of the day is gold star. And the definition I found was a lesbian who's never had sex with a man. And this term can be controversial as it implies a hierarchy. So, based on that definition of the word, what are your thoughts?
Well, I can definitely see why it's gold star. And I say that because, education wise, you get a gold star when you do something very well or you're excellent at it. So if you are a gold star lesbian, and the definition says that you've never been with a man, it seems like you are the perfect lesbian. So I could rock with that. I could rock with that. I'm not a gold star.
And that's fine. And, a big thing for me on this podcast is making sure that, like, as we go through the words of the day or we just use different terminology that we align with or don't align with, I don't want anyone to feel like, hey, anything we say is to offend, it's to educate and to connect. And so for me, I actually heard about the term gold star lesbian before. This is not new to me. And I was I wasn't shocked that the word exists. What I was more shocked is the second piece, which is like it's controversial because it implies hierarchy. I
Right.
agree. The only thing I don't love about this idea of a gold star lesbian is that one who is not therefore is less. I don't feel that way personally, and I don't think anyone should feel that way.
That's what's up. I like that. I like that because why do we have to have tiers to our lesbianism or our sexuality anyway? So the hierarchy part, yeah, I can agree with you. Like, why do we even have to have that? Why do we even have to, throw that in there? Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, honestly, like I I'm not gonna reveal whether or not I'm a gold star just because of the hierarchy piece. But what I will say is I would love to meet someone in the future for a different episode. Someone who identifies, or, well, I guess it would be an identity or a label. If this word is applicable to you and you want your story to be heard, I would love to hear it because like I said, I want all of these words to feel like they're words of empowerment, but at the same time too, there's so much more that I need to learn about them. But yeah, let's keep this conversation going. Right now, we're in our part of the show where it's called temperature check. It's a time for us to say what's top of mind for both the host and the guest. But let's start it off with our guest, Shelley. What's top of mind for you right now
I
in
think
life?
I think it will be, to be honest, my temperature check is basically on just pride. Pride is up, and I know that the administration has tried to erase this month for the LGBTQI plus people. My temperature there is I want us to be cautious. I want us to have a damn good time, of course, but I want us to be cautious in what we're doing and make sure that we are looking out for one another during this time. There's no division in our month this month, none whatsoever. No division between the lesbians, between the gays, our trans siblings, non-binary. There's no division. So let's just make sure that we are on the lookout. So that's my temperature check right there.
Yeah, we're definitely on the same page. Happy Pride, everyone. We're recording this when Pride just gets started, at least here in the States. So I do know there are people that are outside of the United States listening, so I love that. Top of mind for me is related to Pride. My partner and I, we went to a place in New York called Tuckahoe, which I believe is
Okay.
all part of Westchester County. I could be wrong. Do not judge me. I'm one of those hardcore New Yorkers where, like, I'm really just concerned about the five boroughs. Once you borderline get out of the five boroughs, like, it goes over my head. Anyway, point is, we went to a place called Tuckahoe. It's like a community center where they were celebrating Pride. And a friend of mine who is a drag queen as a profession was, a part of the entertainment lineup. And so, my partner and I, my partner being, to be clear, Puerto Rican, brown skin, dark skin, depending on how you see her. And I'm a dark skin, masculine, lesbian, pull up to what is a very predominantly white neighborhood to celebrate Pride. But because it was a Pride event, my natural reaction was, okay, we're safe. Let's go there, have some fun. But the minute we got into the neighborhood, we were just being stared down at and in a very aggressive way. And it's weird because we were being stared at not by the people in the surrounding community, but the people at the event.
Wow.
Everyone there was wearing, rainbow flags, and they had, like, little accessories, what you normally expect out of a pride event. But it was so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable, and we tried really hard to hide that discomfort. And it was a reminder, I think, to myself, and I'd be curious about what your thoughts on it. Even in scenarios where, like, people have gone above and beyond to create a safe space, that doesn't necessarily mean the space itself is safe. You need
That's
to
right.
assess it, and you need to make sure you react accordingly. I'm not sure you ever see things like that, especially during Pride Month, but that
Most
was just so
definitely.
uncomfortable.
Yes, and see that is why I want us to make sure that we are holding space for everyone. Like we have to be able to go into these spaces and feel like we are cared for, and we have to have compassion for the next person. We are in the same community. We are in the same intersectionality. So it's like, why, based on the color of our skin, right? You are looking at us this way. We are amongst our people. So I definitely feel where you're coming from in that situation. And that's why I urge people, like, we have to look out for one another. We have so many people that's not for us in the first place. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you are Puerto Rican. I don't care if you're Black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Asian. If you're a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, they're not for us. They're not checking for us anyway. So why be that way in our own little community, in our own little intersectionality? I'm definitely with you. And I vow that I don't want to go anywhere. And I tell my wife this all the time. I don't want to go anywhere where we are stared at, and that's in our own community or outside our community. I want us to be safe, and I want us to feel safe. So yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more piece to it, which is because I understand, like I'm one of those people that I can, and maybe I need a better term for this, but I'm definitely good at playing devil's advocate, right? And I understand that for people who are not allies, they really do struggle with understanding our community. And I do hope to be a part of one of many efforts to bridge that gap. I want to point out something specific that happened the other day so people understand it's not just about staring that makes us uncomfortable as a community. There was a young individual, I say young because they did look very young, who had a transgender flag on them specifically, and they were dressed as what is known as a furry. And I will allow, if you're listening, the audience member to go ahead and look up what furries are. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because this young person who is dressed as a furry at the event probably did so because they thought they were safe. And I watched as a family that was carrying a crying child approach this person who was wearing if you will, like a mask, that looks like a wolf. They were wearing a mask that looks like a wolf. They approached this person and asked to have this person interact with the child. And I'm bald, right? I don't have hair to pull out. But it was crazy that they would ask the person to like take off, what they were wearing to entertain a child. But then when the person did kindly remove their mask, I noticed that they were wearing headphones. And I'm making an assumption here, but it's a safe assumption that this person is either very sensitive to noise or even on the spectrum. And it just made me feel so bad because after that interaction with the crying baby and them trying really hard to interact with the family in a healthy way, but also protecting themselves, they end up secluding themselves for the rest of the event in the corner of the parking lot, looking so sad and alone. And I just
Wow.
felt so bad. And the only reason why I didn't approach them is because, once again, I didn't know the full story and I didn't want to approach and it may be taken the wrong way. I just wanted to give them the space that they need. But it was just something that I observed and it just rubbed me the wrong way. It made me so uncomfortable. And I was already uncomfortable by the stairs, but like what they did to that person was wrong and it should have felt wrong, but it didn't. I really need
Yeah.
people to check themselves and the people around them a little bit more.
That's right. That's what I want to say. Check yourself. Like we have to I don't care who you are. Like we have to be intentional about going into these spaces. So yeah, just check yourself before you go into these spaces. Like peep out the scene, read a room, do what you need to do so that everybody can feel safe in where they are. So yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that.
Yeah, yeah. But and like I said, I appreciate your thoughts on just like what's happening in your life and just being transparent and sharing that with us. Like I said, one big point of this podcast is for us to connect. And so I think this is just a really cool way to start off what's going to be a really great conversation and story later on. But let's transition over into our segment called Doom Scrolling. And once again, if you're here for the first time, Doom Scrolling is the part of the show where we're going to talk about like what's interesting to us, right? Whether it's on social media or the news. I have an idea of what Shelley might want to talk about, but let's kick it off with, Shelley, what are you looking at on social media nowadays? What do you find interesting? And can you tell our audience a little bit more about it?
Most definitely. Listen, I use social media for two things, like for to laugh, right? And then to actually basically just advocate for people or just make people smile and everything of that nature like that. So I'm not a real, scroller, but when I do scroll, I have went down the rabbit hole of what is called the sainted trap choir. So it's when this choir like a gospel choir or a church choir, or whatever, are singing R&B songs and rap songs. So like it took me there because one of my favorite rap songs is No Hands. And when I saw them like singing No Hands, I was like, what else did they get? So like I am definitely down right now. I'm scrolling everything sainted trap choir. Y'all have to get into this trap choir for real.
Love it. Love it. And it's funny, it wasn't until you gave like examples of what they've done before that I'm like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about because one of their
Yeah.
posts did go viral.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they some people have really, everybody has negative thoughts about, that blending gospel with secular and all that stuff. But I mean, you can get a message out of anything. And we could talk about that later, but you can get a message out of anything. So like, I mean, it's just the flow, it's just the way that they're taking their own selves, own little thing, own little nook, and they're turning it around to something that's enjoyable. So like I love it. I love it, man. It's love.
I love it too. And I think this is an example of just kind of putting out bridges that people can cross and we can meet each other in the middle, right? Like you don't need
Exactly.
to be associated with a religion at all to enjoy the sainted choir, the sainted trap choir, excuse me, or anything else that's kind of like it, right? Like I definitely music wise used to avoid religious music, right? Because I'm like, well, I'm not associated with any of them, so you know, I'm not listening to any of it. And then I started
Yeah.
hearing fusions, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? Like I can enjoy this music and still not be associated with religion.
That's right.
Like that's
That's right.
like both of these things can be true.
That's right. That's right. That's good.
There was something in the news that you were very passionate about as well. Would you mind sharing that with the
Yeah.
audience and your thoughts on it?
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna go back to what you said about the read. The read is very passionate about these articles, and I saw the article, but it really made me want to dive in and talk more about it. When I heard it on the read, it's about, if you all know, in Georgia, there's a case of Adriana Smith, who was or is a pregnant woman who's been declared brain dead since February, but is being kept on life support because she is pregnant. She was 2 months pregnant. She went in for a blood clot and died. And I guess my thing that really just it gets me is because these laws, and we knew that this was going to happen ever since the law overturned Roe versus Wade, and it restricts, abortions once cardiac activity is detected and grants, personhood rights to a fetus and everything of that nature. But I was passionate about this because I am in awe about what the state of Georgia is doing. I understand that hospital is doing it, or you know, uh, is keeping her alive because they don't want to lose their licenses. But what kind of trauma? Like, what kind of trauma are we putting this family through who cannot properly say their goodbyes to her because they are keeping her on life support? Not only that, I tripped out because it was brought up about the financial. Like, who's paying for this? Who is paying for this? And I think my thing is, but would the same thing be going on if this person, if this woman, right, was of the Caucasian persuasion? And I'm putting it out there. No, I'm not racist. I'm not a racist at all. But I just need to know, would we be fighting? Would this person still be on life support, right? Would her family have to go through this trauma of actually not burying her and actually keeping a fetus alive that may come up with some trauma, difficulties, brain damages, like suffer really bad if the fetus even lives. So I once I heard that, I was just like, I can't believe that, because here we go with people who do not have the faculties of a woman, right, dictating what can happen to this woman's body, and she's not even alive. So that right there has really just been on my heart. It's been on my mind. Like, I've literally prayed for this family because ever since February, because I'm like, it's May, well, June now, and they have not been able to say their proper goodbyes because a
Mm-hmm.
hospital is keeping her her faculties, right? So that this fetus can either grow. And then I have questions about that. Is the fetus going to make it? So yeah, that's been the topic that has really been blowing my mind for the last several months. And I've tried not to really put myself all into it, but it's just really, really, really strange. And it's really, really, if I will, it's concerning to me as a Black woman. No, I do not have any kids. No, I do not want any kids. But as a woman, right, specifically, that people who have this control over our bodies. I'm in awe. I'm in awe about it. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and you're not alone. You are not alone in your thoughts and feelings, and I appreciate you bringing this up first and foremost because I definitely have my thoughts and opinions. I just well, let's just be clear. My stance is I'm big on people making their own decisions in this world, assuming it's not
yes,
hurting anyone.
right.
And that's not even like political or religious or anything. That's just how I feel. Make your
That's right.
decisions as long as it's not negatively impacting somebody else.
Somebody else. I agree.
And when it comes to this in particular, I remember hearing the story at first because it's been active for several weeks now, actually. When I first heard it, I thought that, oh, this is maybe like a really bad joke. Like, there are different ways of making medical decisions for people,
Yes. Yes.
right? And I think that they work, right? So, for example, some people have the ability to grant others, at least here in the United States, the right, the lawful right to say this is what you should do in case of my death or in case of what is about to be my pending death. And I like those laws because it gives people a voice in what's happening with them. And I feel
Yes.
like in this case, the main person that I'm concerned about does not have that voice,
That's right.
and that voice is not, or it's not being respected, is probably the better way to say it, right?
Yeah.
And it's it's being ignored with the goal of pushing a political agenda.
That's right. That's right.
And it screams wrong, but for the powers that be, and I've said this before in I believe like the first episode, I always know when people have conversations like this, it always comes down to money. I know it doesn't sound right, but someone is going to financially benefit from us from the scenario where that fetus survives. I know that sounds crazy, but believe me when I say most decisions in this world, especially in this country, come down to money.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't sound
Sometimes
crazy at all.
it sometimes like the reasons behind people's actions are like something else, but it always comes down to money, and that's what makes me sick about this story.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that regardless of what ends up happening with the fetus, I hope that the real result is we are listening to the family or whoever this person has designated legally as their voice when they don't have one. I hope
Yeah.
their voice is heard and that whatever decision happens next is based on that.
Exactly, exactly. And I hope that they get what they need. And my hope is that they're not being charged for for the hospital making a decision to do this, and what challenges the fetus may have in upcoming months. I just really hope that answers are given, right? And like you said, I'm hoping that the agenda is not money, but I'm with you on that. I can totally see it. I can totally see it. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
understand. I understand the hospital, the doctors. I understand, not wanting to lose their licenses. I understand that. I get it. But when this becomes a moral thing, because right now I feel like it's a moral thing, and yeah, it's just really hard to sit with. It's really hard to say, oh, the hospital got it right, or the legislative got it right, or even administration got it right. It's hard to say that when, for me, it's really morally wrong. Morally wrong.
I'm literally right there with you. And I actually happen to be rewatching A Handmaid's Tale. Hopefully, that's the
Yeah.
whole title. With my fiance, because they didn't get to see the entire show, and I never got to finish it, to be quite honest. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is when it comes to women's rights, in particular, I don't understand why more people didn't watch that show. I don't understand why people didn't take that show seriously. The show is 100% based on, I get, a fictional novel. Fine.
Yeah.
But it is one of the few shows I have seen in my lifetime that is so spot on real. It is one of the few things that for sure could happen, right? And I'm not trying to make, me sound like a conspiracy theorist, right? I really am not. But when it comes to like looking at, that work of art and saying what aspects of this can actually happen in today's society, the answer is 100% of that show can actually happen
Yeah.
in today's society. And I need people to take it a little bit more seriously. Not necessarily the show, but all of the chaos that happens in that show and compare it to what's happening right now, specifically in the US, but maybe in other countries, where like there are people and whole groups of people who are more concerned about controlling individuals and not
Mhm.
concerned with supporting
Yeah.
individuals, right? Because if we took all this same effort we put into saying, this group of people shouldn't do this, or this group of people should live like that. If we put the same
Yeah.
energy into helping the people that are alive right now in this world that need help with a variety of things, it could be a better place, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Man, you talking good to me.
it really could, and it doesn't need to be like one big overhaul on how the world operates. Like that's not
Yeah.
realistic, but like small efforts. And especially here in the States, like we should be trying to, do better for our friends and family and our neighbors on very small levels. And we continue to go up and up and up and let it affect how our political system runs, because our political system runs based on the people we elect at the very
Mhm.
bottom. And
Mhm.
they're making their decisions on how we're moving, plus money. So all
Right.
I'm saying is
Sure.
like it would be nice to see more efforts into making sure that situations like this where we have a way to manage
Yeah.
health issues where people can no longer speak on their own health. We have a way to go about this. Like, let's respect that. Let's just respect that.
That's
Whatever
right.
decision it is, let's just respect it. If it's not harming anybody, let's respect it.
Good.
And that's how I'm closing out that, because I know I can get a little hot headed and I'm staying calm, cool, and collected for this podcast.
It's all
Whew,
good.
whew, I'm ready. I'm ready for a proper debate. But, you
Yes.
know, what I'm really interested in getting into is your story, friend. Like I said, the topic of the day is, how can we connect to religion and spirituality in the community? And you have quite a bit to say on that topic. So, let our listeners know a little bit more about how you feel about the topic of the day and any story related you have for it.
Yeah, religion. Religion is, for me, it's a construct, if you will. Spirituality for me is something that goes above and beyond your human self. a divine power. And for me, I had to separate the two in order for me to live how I'm living today. And what I mean by that is the religion of being a certain denomination or Christianity, all of that, and spirituality of knowing for myself and having a relationship with the divine power is more important. And how I got there is literally by deconstructing. And I say that in the way of taking things apart. Like I was literally raised and drugged. And I know I have some people out there was raised and drugged to church, not just on Sundays, but throughout the week. So, and the major part of the religion was this Bible written by King James, who, if you know anything about King James, is a part of the LGBTQI community himself. That's to be honest. But I had to literally deconstruct what that book said about who I was and whose I was. And when I say who I was, and of course, if you read and if you know anything about religion or you come from that background, who we identify as is an abomination. They say unto to God. It's punishable by death. Like you have no say so, to be honest. And what I had to deconstruct was the fact of if y'all are saying that God knew us, right? Before we knew ourselves, before we were born, God knew us, and I said they, yes, in our mother's womb. That means that God already knew who I was going to be, how I was going to act, who I was going to love, and everything of that nature. So once I removed what was drilled into me as far as man and woman, and who, I know y'all heard it, there's no Adam and Steve, or there's no Alice and Eve, or whatever like that. Like when I started really deconstructing that and reconstructing who I was as far as being chosen, being called, and what I was made to do, and under these constructs, these laws of what was brought to us, and I do mean that because this religion was brought to our people. So when we get into that, I want people to know that you are loved at the end of the day. I'm going to stop talking about religion and spirituality and just hit it on the head and say, I need people to understand in their spiritual world, a divine that is above you, you are loved, and you are loved by your God. And I say your God because you may not believe in the same God that I believe in, or the higher power that I believe in. But know that you are put on this earth. You were put on this earth to love and to be loved. And in that we need we I want to say this. I want people to understand that you can have both in the same. You can have your spirituality, and you can have your faith, and you can also be a lesbian. You can also be a mask presenting lesbian. You can also be gay. You can also be queer. You can also be trans and still have a relationship with this higher being. This higher being shows up morally compassionate, morally caring for others. It is the way that we walk, it is the way that we talk, it is the way that we do life that brings this to existence. You can have your walk and still be who you are. I believe that that is important for us to get out, JJ. I believe that people need to understand who they are in the spirit realm, right? In it, whose they are with God. I just believe that people need to know that. They need to know that they can have both in the same, if that makes sense.
It definitely makes sense. And then I appreciate you help helping our audience at least see your perspective on this and help guide those who are actively trying to figure out, like, who am I in this big world?
Yes.
And how do I connect with it? I think that's what religion does.
Yes. Yes. And to connect with it is really just connecting with a higher self, right? Your higher self. And what I mean by that is you don't have to be a follower of the way or a Christian, as they call it. You don't have to be a Buddhist. You don't have to practice African spirituality or African religion, whatever. You can just be you and still be spiritual. And what I mean by that is, we go back to morals, we go back to compassion, we go back to love. Those things, when you do the things that are outside of your norm and you do it above, that is spirituality. That is your God manifesting in this earth. It's my main thing is being a representative of that. That was so important to me that I need to make sure that people who are like me, who look like me, who identify as I identify, know that they can be who they are, right? Love who they love, and still know that they are loved by a higher power, loved by God, practicing their faith, doing what they need to do. So yeah, that's what I want people to know, and I want people to understand about religion, spirituality. It is not about the next man or the next woman. It is about who you are and who you believe you are in this earth, and how you see the higher power and the divine in yourself. That's what I want people to know. That's what I want people to understand.
If you're comfortable saying, given who you are and how you represent, right? But
Mhm.
also being a religious figure, right? How do you handle conversations with people who are also religious or very spiritual, who feel like, well, because of who you are and how you represent, you really aren't aligned with your particular religion? How do you handle those conversations?
Yeah, I take them back to contextual theology. Listen, and when I say contextual theology, I'm literally talking about let's read this thing in the context that it was given. Let's read it in the period that it was in. Because see, we have to understand that where people are coming from and they want to throw stones at it, they're still living in Leviticus, right? We are no longer living in Leviticus times. Matter of fact, we haven't lived as the people lived in those times in the book of Leviticus in a very long time. If that was the case, then the people who like shellfish would be an abomination as well, right? The people who mix match wool and cotton and all of those things would be an abomination as well. So how I handled them is I handled them with the context, and I have to go back and tell them what context are you getting this from. And I also bring to the forefront of, listen, if you are spitting these things out from this Bible that was written by King James, you are also practicing from the word from a homosexual as well. So I want to make sure that they know everything. And I try not to debate religion. I literally just put it out there that, look, I know that people struggle with this, and I want to be a place of hope and healing to what they are struggling with. And I put it out there that I want them to be able to deconstruct. So I'm not going to argue with, to be honest with you, I really don't argue with people and when it comes to religion. I don't argue with you. You're going to have your views. You have what you have. But if we are going to get into the thing, let's make sure that we get into the context in which that word that you're speaking to me in was written. Let's get into that. So we have to debate theology. We have to debate this Bible or this religion. Let's debate the entire thing, and let's make sure that we go there. So yeah, I basically wouldn't debate them, but I would definitely tell them, hey, what context are you coming at me at? Because we definitely do not live under the old law, right? We definitely are not going there. And then I challenge them to look at the law that we are under, which is the new covenant. If you want to go there, if you or a practicing Christian or a practicing follower of the way. We are living under the covenant of grace, and everybody, I don't care who you are, deserves grace. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying not to debate, but if we have to go there, let's debate contextually. Let's debate historically. Let's go there. Yeah.
Okay. And I appreciate that answer. And I know there are people that are listening who are definitely going through a struggle, and the struggle being like, once again, like, who am I in this world? How do I connect with it? And for many people in this world, religion is that answer, or, tapping into your spirituality is it. And, when it comes to my background, I won't get into all the little details, but, I come from a family that practices multiple religions. And I want to say, like, I have a religious mother. I can't even tell you which religion she practices. She's one of those people that she has her Bible next to her bed and she reads her Bible every day. But what I will say is the way she raised me is between technically two religions. In New York City, some of the best education you can get is from a Catholic school. There's no debate on that. There's just no debate. You pay for school, so therefore you're getting really good education. And so, she sent me to Catholic school, St. Michael's to be exact. Everyone in the school, whether it's the teachers or the students, are mostly white. And so I had my experiences with religion in Catholic school, but on the side, we would go to, on occasion, not like every week, we were going to like a Baptist church. And I would call that Black church. And that's because everyone was predominantly Black. And so I would be in Catholic school talking about the Black church. I'd be in the Black church speaking about the white church. And because of this, and among other things, I was struggling as a child to understand. So, like, what is religion and what religion am I associated with? In my late teens, I was surrounded by friends that represent literally every part of the world. We used to joke and call ourselves the UN because of that. Every single one of my friends practiced something different, and some didn't practice at all. And I even had a friend who, even said that they were an atheist, right? We really did fully represent the full spectrum. And so I decided to go on a religious journey, and it lasted about 2 years, I want to say, almost 2 years, where I asked my friends and our surrounding friends, right? Maybe the outer circle of friends, and said, am I allowed to go to whatever your version of a church is and learn more about your religion? And I did that, and it was so cool. I was able to go to temples and churches and other religious facilities and just walk in and actually be welcomed. And I just want to emphasize a few things. I'm not going to name drop every religion I got to, if you will, trial out or test out. But what I will say is some common themes. And some of those common themes included, I'm not probably as masculine presenting as I am now back then, but it was clear I was probably queer. And yet, and something I'm not hiding is I'm Black, right? I'm not hiding that. So I was still welcomed with open arms in every single one of these places. I was able to ask questions and not be judged based on the questions I had. I was able to question people and their line of thought. And people were very quick to say, hey, like, this is why I do what I do. The only thing that I did see that one would maybe say was negative is the only thing that was common in every single one of these conversations, no matter which religion was, everyone was brought into their religion through birth. And what I mean by that is in every single scenario, people chose their religion because that's what their family practiced.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, as someone who moves through logic, rationale, and needs something concrete to kind of hold, to kind of believe in, it was hard for me, at least then, to want to even be open-minded into, I wouldn't say converting, but joining a religious practice. Because I'm like, well, if you guys are just doing what your parents told you, are you a believer?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Are you a
good.
believer? And so I don't want to practice under someone who isn't a believer, right? From my definition, because I'm not following it, the religion, I'm following you.
Oh,
That's how I see it. And like I said, I ventured into multiple religions. I want to say it had to been like, 10 different facilities physically, but like dozens of conversations. And I decided then that I'm not ready yet. And I
yeah,
just want to emphasize that, right? I didn't say, no, I'm anti all religion. There were great things that I saw. There were great conversations that I had,
right.
but I wasn't ready to make that decision.
That's right. And I love the fact that you were able to do that. Like, I love the fact that you were able to go into these spaces and say and ask the questions that you wanted to ask in regards to the practice in religion. I'm grateful that you were welcome in those spaces, because many people do not find that out for themselves. You're right. Many people take on the religion or the spirituality as their parents, which I did. And that's why it took me 30 plus years to, say, you know what? No, this is not right for me. This is not what I want. I do not believe this. I do not receive this for my life. So yeah, I respect that. And I'm going to say to you, continue that journey. And if I was to say to anybody out there, if you have to go on a journey like that, do so. You have that right. You do not have to accept the things that your parents. And I think that is the part that confuses a lot of people in religion, is that, oh, my mama was Baptist, so I have to be Baptist, or my parents practice Christianity, so wherever I go, I have to be this Christian. No, you
Right.
do not. No, you do not. Because I have to say this, and this is my personal opinion. I'm not a religious guru. I'm not any of that. But I have to believe in my heart of hearts that the God that I'm talking about is the God of everyone.
Hmm.
Whether you are Muslim, whether you practice Hinduism, whether you are Jewish, Christian, whether you are Muslim, whatever it is, whether you are atheist, and I know that they don't believe in a God, but I have to believe for myself that the God that I speak about is the God of everybody. And this God loves everyone. This God really hones in to those who are lost, who want to find a relationship on their own. So whether that means you have to go on this journey of several practices or several religions, whatever it is, denominations, whatever you have to go on, go on it for yourself. That's the only way that you're going to find that relationship with this bigger God. You feel me?
Yeah. And it's interesting. What I love about my age right now, being at 32 and now having had more conversations naturally, right? I always know when I'm talking to someone who is truly religious or devoted to their religion when they refer to their God or gods as their own, like my God or my gods. I love that because I think about a show, right? And I know we're talking about something serious, but me saying a show might sound not serious, but I'm being very serious in this. Just hear me out. I'm going somewhere with this. There's
Got you.
the show called American Gods. And American Gods, if you're listening and you have no idea what I'm talking about, is a show where if someone, doesn't matter who it is, believes in a religion, that God in theory actually exists. And I thought that was beautiful. And like one of my favorite parts of that show when it first starts off is like there's different types of Jesus that exist for people. There's like
Yeah.
Black Jesus and there's like Mexican Jesus. And I was like, I love this.
Yes.
I I'm not sure what my religion is today as of the recording of this podcast, but I do hope in the deepest part of my heart that whatever exists for you does exist for you.
Yes.
And that right there would make me feel good about kind of what we go through and on this earth while we're alive. you know, religion versus religion, religion versus non-religion. Like, if you have a God or gods that you believe in, I really think and I hope that it exists so that you can continue living the life that you want to, the here
That's
and
right.
now and after. That's kind of the
That's
vibe
right.
I'm on right now.
I
And,
love it.
that might change.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Like, do what you have to do so that you can be who you need to be, and believe what you believe so that you can be who you need to be. I believe that we are all called to be a representation of some sort, and if your representation is a bad representation, maybe that's what you were called for. I don't know. However, I believe, and my call is to be a representation of who I am and who I needed at the time, right? So I'm out here giving joy, hope, love, and this thing called spirituality or belief in a higher power, whatever it is, to those who feel like they are lost and they cannot have it because of what they were told, or they want to find it in some sort of a thing. So yeah, I believe I agree with you. Like, do what you need to do to find that joy, that hope, that love, that belief, whatever it is. Do what you need to do. Yeah, with that.
Well, Shelley, thank you for being you and being that person people can go to as they go on their journeys. And I definitely want to keep in touch to see how you're going on your journey. And I would love to keep you, updated on my own. But
Yes, please.
thank you so much for
Thank you.
being you, being transparent, being loving, and yeah, just also kind of taking a chance on the show and saying, "Hey, I wanna, share my thoughts and perspectives on life and religion, for our audience to hear." Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I really do. I really do.
Of
This is
course.
awesome.
Well, that last segment, which I totally forgot to say out loud, was Aight So Boom, the time when we get to share our initial stories. But hey, we're this is a very raw podcast, so
Yeah.
sometimes I'm gonna forget to tell y'all the titles of segments, but y'all know what the vibes are.
Okay.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unstrapped the Podcast. Whether you're part of the strapped or unstrapped community, the queer family, or an ally, I'm grateful you're here. We have so many more people to meet, stories to share, and journeys to take together, and I'm excited you're a part of it. If you want to keep up with us between episodes, follow us on social media. Just search Unstrapped the Podcast. And don't be shy, my DMs are open. And I know you know that because my DMs are flooded. But don't worry, I'm getting through every single message one breath at a time. You can request to be a guest. We still have a little bit of slots we can book for recordings. You can drop a question. You can send some love or just say hi. You might even hear your question featured on an episode during our Lost and Found segment. And just in case you forgot, we're going to drop these episodes every 2 weeks on a Monday, starting May 5th. So that's a great way to keep up with the schedule. But this also follows on social media. I always announce when I'm going to drop something. Till next time, unstrap, sit back, and stay connected. We'll speak again soon.